We're going to be trying to install this VIOFO Dashcam HK4 hardwire kit. Anything you can do on this switch box is choose the cutoff voltage in parking mode, and it'll basically cut off power to the dashcam at the given selected voltage. There's 4 options for 12 volt, and most of the reviews say it's quite off, so the accuracy is can be 0.2 volts out. People are recommending just stick it on 12.4, the maximum, to kind of mitigate any 12 volt low battery issues. But yeah, that goes to a USB-C lead, and it's on a right angle, which will be interesting. So we'll see how that works. And then on the other end we've got the 3 wires required, which is what I'm going to have to try and work out now. So we've got a ground, which is black, and most likely this is going to be a chassis bolt of some sort, or if there is a natural electrical ground point stud, I'll use that. This is battery positive, so it needs to be on a permanent on 12 volts. Likely have to tap off a fuse for that one. And then the third wire is an accessory line, which is a on only when the ignition is on 12 volt feed. So maybe like cigarette lighter socket, something like that. So I'm going to be using these fuse taps to break into some of the circuits in the car required for the hardwire kit. So the accessory and the permanent live, I'm going to tap off an existing fuse, and I was just wondering how these things worked. So I buzzed it out of a multimeter, and basically it looks like this. So the original fused circuit is going to be coming out of these two, and then it's going to be fused by these two connections here, which is the lower one. So you can imagine the original car fuse goes there, and then the positive out for your additional new circuit, which is the red wire here, is going to come out and be fused from the top 2 connections. So you can imagine there's going to be a fuse for that as well. So for cigarette lighter it's going to be 20 amp original, and then we're probably going to run 2 amp fuse for the hardwire kit, because it says it can do, if this will focus, it will do 5 volt 2 amps. So I was thinking, is this directional, this thing? And it looks like it is, because basically what will happen here is I need to plug the left prong, if you're looking at it in this direction, into the positive, so then the positive can go all the way up through here, through the additional circuit fuse, and then provide the positive feed for your additional circuit that you're piggybacking off. So if you put this the wrong way around, basically you're going to be switching the negative, which is going to be a bit weird. I'm not sure if that's right. So if you're switching the negative instead, basically means you've got ground coming out all the time on your positive. So this is definitely directional. So I'm going to have to buzz out the fuse box and check which prong or which connection in the fuse box is the ground, and then install it so that ground is on this right hand tab here. At the top edge there are these little tabs here that you can see. One there, and there's another one in the far corner there just behind the vent control. And then what you do is you basically push up on these things and then the glove box should drop down. Okay, so one trick here is to not push down on the glove box while you're trying to press up on those little rubber tabs, because it will basically just increase the pressure and you won't be able to unclip them. So just push the glove box up slightly and then push on those tabs and then bring the glove box down, and then it's just held by this little retainer rod on the side here. And the way to release that is you basically just pull it towards you, so grip it here and then just pull towards, and then you hear that click, and then you should be able to pull that rod out and then drop the glove box all the way down. Now on my glove box it didn't actually do that initially. The whole rod came out like this. So I guess you can do it two ways. You can just keep pulling until it comes out of the track, or you can do the little release thing, and you can see how that works. It's kind of like the back of an extension socket and screw. Small hole, big hole, so you're pulling it towards you to get it into the big hole, and then you can pull it out that way. So now we've got access to the fuse box, and I just need to find my constant 12 and ignition 12, and also a ground. This 20 amp one here is for the cigarette lighter socket, which only comes on with ignition, so I'm going to use that for the ACC yellow wire on the hardwire kit. Little spade connector in the top left here, and I'm going to multimeter that out and see what that is. I think it's a positive. We'll have to get the DVM out and check it out. Probably need to take that end panel off, run the wires up the A-pillar behind the airbag and then across the roof trim, and then get the USB-C connector to drop out somewhere here. So probably to make my life easier I should probably try and take this side panel off. So let's get the old spudgers out, see if I can get this out without destroying it. Not quite sure where the clip points are, so... oh, there's one. I can feel another one up here. And there's probably one down at the bottom here which I can see. Two. And then the third one I can actually see up here. There we go. There's the electrical switch for disabling the passenger airbag, which is there. See if we can disconnect that over here. I think I'm going to need to take this trim piece off as well. So I need to work out how this comes out. And I just pulled it, so there was a clip there, so out that way and then out. And these look like they could be good ground points. Continuity mode. I'll put the buzzer on. So negative and positive together equals beepy beepy. And then I'm going to use the chassis as my ground. Let's see if these bolts are ground. So this should buzz, which it does. They're all ground, which is good. DC voltage mode. We can have a look at this tab at the top here to see if that's 12 volts or not. Yep, so the car's off at the moment. We've got 12.5 volts DC permanent, so I'm probably going to use that. And that'll be easy because that'll be just a dedicated spade connector, cigarette lighter socket to see which side is positive, whether it's the top or the bottom. Let's just pop this fuse out. Let's check for DC 12 volts. Bottom one, nothing. Top one, nothing. Turn ignition on. And then we'll check again. We're getting chirps about the airbag switch being removed. So let's check this again now. DC 12 volts, so this bottom one is 14.5 volts. And the top one is nothing. So the bottom one, the bottom connection, is the positive. Start with the ground, and I'm going to use this bolt point here. And that was already really loose, but just for reference, it's a T30 Torx. Okay, so I've snipped the earth lead short, stripped the end. I'm just going to solder it up before I crimp up. So now we've soldered the earth end, stick it in a crimp, crimp it, check it doesn't pull out. Okay, so we've got our earth crimp bolted back in, and then that's going back to the hardwire box. Now I've got to deal with these two wires. So I think what I might actually do is try out the yellow accessory line first, and see if the kit even powers up with just this on. So basically it'll work like a no parking mode hardwire kit, but I'm not sure if that'll work, so let's try that out first. But it's razor sharp metal, so we're going to stick a little grommet in there just to stop them from getting cut up. I've got my earth, I've got my rubber grommet, and I've got the permanent and accessory feeding through it. Comes down a little bit and then comes underneath the dash to here, where it comes out. And I've just left the permanent live loose for now. Rigged up the accessory line first. So let me pull this out. So I've changed this so that it's actually pluggable now. So I've cut off the original permanent crimp, and now it's a pluggable bullet crimp. And then we've got, like we discussed before, the original circuit fuse is 20 amps, which is the lower fuse position, and then the upper one is 2 amp. And we said that we wanted the positive to be coming through on the left hand prong, and that was the actual lower connector position. Plug it in like this, and that's basically what it looks like. I've got the USB-C connector connected into this little dummy load, and it's not actually turning on with the ignition on. It's just double check it by running a multimeter on that bullet connection, and then if that's the case, it basically means you have to have permanent 12 attached for it to turn on. So we've got ignition on, cigarette lighters on, we're getting 14.4 volts out of our piggyback circuit. And then if I turn the ignition off, cigarette lighter off, and we've got floating 0.5, 0.6 volts. Well, while messing around with this thing, the little slidey switch snapped off, which is really annoying. Basically means the switch is still in there, and the switch is okay, but what I'll have to do is just stick something in there to slide it back and forth, because the little tab snapped off somehow. So, you know, quality wise not so good. Anyways, the permanent has now been rigged up in the top left there. Hey, it's me from the future. So this is just a quick interject to give you a quick update. That top left connection, which is permanent 12 volts, is a bit of an unknown, and the safest thing to do there is to fuse it. So in addition to what you've just seen, there's now an inline fuse holder with a 2 amp fuse in there as well, just for safety's sake, because I don't actually know where that terminal goes. And then we've got a piggyback on the cigarette lighter socket running to the accessory line, and then we've got our USB load, which is currently off. Cigarette lighter socket's off, and the car is off. So let's turn the car on. And we've got cigarette lighter socket on, and our little USB load is running. If you wanted to use this in non-parking mode, that you could just wire the yellow and the red together so they both go to the ignition only circuit. And the reason why I say that is because if I turn the car off, cigarette lighter circuit's off, but the USB load still keeps going, because it's now feeding off the permanent. But if you put the permanent wire onto the switched circuit as well, that basically turns this kit into a non-parking mode, accessory only one. So this will just keep running until the battery voltage goes down to 12.4 volts. That is pretty much it. I think we need to just tidy up a bit of the wiring, mount this box somewhere. Got some braid on the connections through the grommet hole like we had before into the box, which is now zip tied to the chassis frame. And then this is the USB-C cable, still needs a bit of tidying up. I just wrapped it up for the minute to take up the slack, but this goes up the A-pillar. This A-pillar needed ripping off. Couldn't get it all the way off, but it was enough to get access. Note, run the cable behind the curtain airbag, and also watch out for these clips as well, particularly this one, because this is the one which you need to pop off to get it to release. And it's actually in this clip here, and you'll probably need to push the A-pillar trim down and actually pop it out of its slide mount, because this thing is slid in. Let me show you. This thing is slid in to this mount. Difficult to do one-handed, but yeah, this thing here. So you might have to push the pillar down a bit, slide that out so it's halfway so it actually pops out, and then you'll need to release it manually from its male end, and then you can kind of pull away this trim, apart from the bottom bit which I couldn't undo. Anyways, the cable comes up through here, and it kind of follows the factory loom, and I've used a bit of Tessa tape to secure it to the factory loom points, and then it runs up into the headliner. And then what I've done is I've double backed on myself into an S shape and tucked it in there just to give me a bit of extra slack. And then right now I've just got it, because I haven't got the camera yet, I've just got it hanging down there. You can just take your spudger, put it in there, just pull it down. There's quite a big cavity in there where you can tuck your cables. There's enough room to tuck that big noise reducer that you can see there, plus a double backing of cables for some extra slack. So that's pretty much it. A little bit more involved than I thought, but the only thing left to do now is to just secure the cables a bit more so they don't buzz and rattle when you're driving along, and then put everything back together again.